paso a la eternidad del libertador de la patria, Simón Bolívar, padre de la patria de Venezuela, que hoy su pensamiento, doctrina, son referentes que sentan las bases de la revolución bolivariana, de las luchas contra el imperialismo y las causas justas. Es a esta hora, como vemos, los honores que se desarrollan por parte de la vicepresidenta ejecutiva de la República, presidenta del Tribunal Supremo.
So a floral wreath for the representatives of the Bolivarian country, which will be offered by the foreign minister of the charged affairs of the state of Bolivia and Colombia. Will be offering floral wreaths for paying homage to Simón Bolívar.
Rendir honores al padre de la patria.
So Bolivarian countries are offering floral wreaths for Simón Bolívar, and So they are paying homage to the greatest liberator of the homeland, Simón Bolívar, and so they are laying in floral wreaths by the Bolivarian Armed Forces of Venezuela, and it's going to be placed by one of the main authorities. And José Avelino Ordelas, head of the general and second commander of the strategic command of operations and commander of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, and Javier Zulembín Gutiérrez, who is also a commander of the Bolivarian Armed Forces and general commander of the air military force. Well, several commanders of the Bolivarian Armed Forces are going to lay the floral wreaths to Simón Bolívar.
Los diferentes componentes acompañados del vicepresidente sectorial de Seguridad, Soberanía, Política y Paz, general en jefe Vladimir Padrino López, rinden honores también al padre de la patria, un gran estratega militar, pero que además abogó por la lucha y la
Vladimir Padrino López, head of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, is leading the ceremony. So from this historical venue, the Bolivarian armed forces are paying homage to Simón Bolívar, who has been rescuing the independence values of Simón Bolívar, who advocated for the fair causes, for the freedom of the peoples and the union of nations. And so that is the legacy of Simón Bolívar to Bolivarian forces. So Julio Mayor is going to lay in Flora Reds and Daniela González, Citizen Jesus Toeda, and Justin Romero and Julio Oropesa are going to tribute to Simón Bolívar. So it is the popular power as a popular version of the homeland, and they are just laying in floral wreaths to Simón Bolívar to honor this great liberator who fought against the U.S. imperialism in defense of our sovereignty and in defense of the Venezuela, whose values has been reflected after over 100 years. So these are heartbreaking honors that we have been just watching at the mausoleum of Simón Bolívar. There you are just seeing live images, the different public powers of Venezuela who have paying homage to Simón Bolívar. So now
un canto eterno de libertad, interpretada por los artistas Dante Lombardi y Genaro Luongo, dirigida por Carlos Arroyo de la Compañía Nacional de Teatro.
An everlasting song for freedom is the song that it is going to be played right now.
Sigo envuelto con un manto del iris.
I am wrapped with amount of lyrics to pay homage to the Liberator. I am invaded by memories of an intense fight, of an indomitable momentum for the love of life. However, I am still wrapped with the feeling of fighting in the seas. I am the father of the centuries. I am from the fame of and secrets. My mother was eternity. The limits of the empire has been crossing over the infinite. I don't have a tongue because I am more powerful than death itself. I look what had happened. I look at the future. I look into the future, and in my hands it is the present. Yes, I recognize you. You have been magnanimous before. And I wonder, why do you say of struggling in the sea? Into useful all efforts from being like that, the seeds of your gestures would be just the food for fish. I look into you by the passing of years, and what I see is it is a fertile harvest blooming in the benefits of the whole humanity. Thanks to you, we thank you. The battle for freedom has been heroic, and every time the feeling of brotherhood and sisterhood grows more. You are right. There is no time for hesitation. The great voice of Colombia cries at me, reemerges. I turn back to be the man who writes its delusions and its ideals. Santa Manta is not your fate, is not your destiny. Your glorious fate has been to fight side by side with your people, helping them out, paving their routes. Your destiny is to open the routes of freedom, to inhabit in the consciousness, and to promote that the fight must continue. Today is my destiny. I am still alive in the conscience and the hearts of every one of you, in each men and women who want to be free. Let's ride together. Dignity is our momentum. Let's ride to build up the happiness of our sons and daughters, the futures of our youngsters. Peace. Let's ride together. Let's ride together. Brotherhood and glory unites us.
Marcha fúnebre de Selles, compuesta en el año 1883. Himno a Bolívar, compuesta por la artista Teresa Carreño.
So, anthem to
Interpretado por el
Bolívar,
tenor Iván
made by
Cardoso.
the artist Carreño and
Atención. Ready.
Cruzó con alas de águila, de guaira el tren cantaba, la trompa de la fama, su nombre fatigó la fama, la trompa de la fama, y fue su inmenso espíritu que ya en el cielo mora, el astro de la aurora que en un mundo iluminó.
Es el inseguro, es el señor.
Aunque hoy cada frente levanta, rompe el vivo tu marcha triunfal, y a los mundos atónitos cantan, de Bolívar la gloria inmortal. Patria heroica la frente levanta, rompe el vivo tu marcha triunfal, y a los mundos atónitos cantan, de Bolívar la gloria inmortal.
Ahí cree. John.
Palabras de la ciudadana Delcy Rodriguez Gómez,
So,
vicepresidenta ejecutiva de la República Bolivariana
Vice
de Venezuela.
Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez is going to deliver a keynote address.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon to you all. To Magistrate, to President of the Supreme Court of Justice, Delcy Rodriguez, and Elvis Amoroso, President of the Electoral Council of Venezuela, and Citizen Alfredo Ruiz, Ombudsman from Ombudsman Office, and Daniel Rodriguez, National Prosecutor, Vice President, Ministers, the senior militaries, and the Ministry of the Power. Well, I want to read to you all, to all diplomats accredited in Venezuela, not only of the countries of the Great Homeland, but also of the international community represented in our country. I want to greet athletes Julio Mayor, to athletes who have participated in the floral wreath, to our father, Liberator Simón Bolívar. Welcome to you all. Today we commemorate 194 years of the immortality of our founding father, Liberator. We can say that it is a day of sadness, but I prefer to understand it that it always It is always a great joy to speak about Simón Bolívar, that it makes us very proud because it is one of the most universal heroes that have been born from Venezuela. It is undiscussable the proud, the honor that when we cross over our borders and we know what it meant, the crossing of borders of our liberator Simón Bolívar to reach freedom. So we feel very proud, and let's think about that child Simón, who was forging himself in the harshest difficulties of his life, and how this child Simón arrived to swear in for the freedom of our country, of how that child Simón has been turning into a great man full of universal ideals, with a message that nurtures our model with justice, equity, social justice, with a message of what Bolívar means for the future in the political terms, in the sovereignty of countries. So Simón Bolívar was anti-imperialist, anti-expansionist. In the social sector, his legacy in the model that nurtures the Constitution of Venezuela, a model that provides joy through justice and equity, of a legacy that means the military doctrine for our soldiers, men and women, what it means: an army free, patriotic, anti-imperialist, and sovereign. What it means: an armed forces built and inspired in the dream of Bolívar and in the legacy of Bolívar. Men and women with greatness, with virtues and with high morals, that they know what it means, the military doctrine, because even when we are less in quantity, we are just giant in front of the task that the homeland demands us. That model that also nurtures the universal principles of human rights, in which Bolívar was based, equity, in the that he trusted deeply the human being. I said that young who was who changed in Angostura, who fight, who is in the campaign of New Granada, facing the severe weather conditions, and we pictured through all those hardships, going through, crossing over regions to reach freedom of neighboring countries, of sister nations, and how Bolívar turns into Carabobo. In Carabobo gave the independence of our homeland, and then he was victorious, and within Caracas he was waging the southern campaign to become the Bichicha and in Ayacucho. So forging the independence of our countries in front of the Spanish Empire. Bolívar never stops amazed us in his military and personal life, because he has a great impetus, joy, optimism, He was never defeated in front of hardships. That's why he is known as the man of hardships. And that has taught us to be the people of difficulties, to not surrender ever, to not show us weakened ahead of those who intend to subdue us. So our enemies, our adversaries, must study Bolivar to understand us. They must see in Bolivar who we are. And Bolivar perceived freedom with a strategic target, not only independence and freedom themselves as precepts of sovereignty, but Bolivar saw it thinking about the powerful unity of Latin America. And he said that the union of Latin America would be the political balance of the world. Maybe this would explain 2 centuries later when he was right when he claimed the unity of Latin America as a mechanism not only of power and strength, not only of internal profits of our relations in benefits for our peoples, but the universal message that he would send to the world. He spoke about the political balance. He always thought about the humanity. That's why he arrived to the remote areas of Peru to reach the independence of Peru, and he said he waged that battle on the ground, and he always thought about the Latin American unity. So those who are sons and daughters of that sword of freedom, and who have become traitors and who have been submitted, they know they are betraying Bolivar. They know that they are betraying our strategic target, as it is the union of our peoples. They know that they are at the service of the hegemonic powers, and they know that they are at the service of Washington. So you know all that today the Canadian government sanctioned high senior authorities of the Venezuelan state to the President of the Supreme Court of Justice and the representatives of the Electoral Council. It is a government that is subdued to those who humiliate them. So today we said, so take care of your own business, because you make it ridiculous in front of your oppressors, because the Venezuelan people is going to mind their independence and freedom. So today we say that we are here together with Bolivar, not to pay homage, but we are Bolivar. We are the people of the liberators of the America. That title cannot be small. That title must be the inspiration to our defense of the nation and of our dignity. They say that after the death of Bolivar, those empires at that time, they thought it was the time, as they think that today is the moment of subduing Venezuela, as if these years of economic blockade weren't enough hardships. After the death of the Liberator, the British Empire search the plundering of our Esequibo. That's why the Esequibo's defense cannot be postponed. We are a living history. We are dedicated to defend the legacy of Bolívar. Father Liberator, in front of you today, your anguishes are the motor, are the engine to defend Venezuela, to defend unity, Latin American unity. That today your anguishes be your dreams fulfilled. And so when someone wondered who we are, we replied, we are the daughters and sons of Bolivar. So we must carry out the project of Bolivar. And so we have seen the light, and they intend us to return to the darkness. And so, dear General Pompeo, we must continue to the path of light, and we must close the doors to darkness. And so let's say it strongly: long live Bolivar, long live everlasting Bolivar, his legacy and doctrines. Long live Bolivar, who gave us life history and who make us proud of being Venezuelans. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the Venezuelan Bolivarian government, through the Ministry of Popular Power, the ceremony has finished. So thank you very much for your kindness, for your kind attendance, and so now the authorities are going to dismiss the venue.
Saludos amigos de Venezolana de Televisión, gracias por este contacto que establecemos desde el centro de la ciudad capital, donde el día de hoy se realiza una gran movilización en unión cívico-militar. Son diversas las razones por las que el pueblo se moviliza a lo largo de estos días, pero específicamente el día...
194 años en sus últimas proclamas, debe mantenerse con fuerza en contra de aquellos enemigos que no solamente vienen desde el exterior, representados ahora
We're watching live images at the National Pantheon of Venezuela as the high authorities of Venezuela, the Executive Vice President, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and the Prosecutor, Attorney General, they were all present there at the National Pantheon, an emblematic site in Caracas, where the greatest heroes of the nation rest. We were watching the ceremony honoring, paying homage to the memory of the great liberator and the father of the homeland, Simón Bolívar, on his 194th anniversary of his physical departure, of his entrance to immortality, to the history books, and to the legacy that he has left for all people in the region of Latin America and the Caribbean and around the world as a historical figure that transcended history and paved the way for the struggle of independence, of anti-imperialist struggles that still persist till today. During the ceremony, we saw many different pieces of music that have been composed throughout the years by different high personalities in the music genre of Venezuela that pay homage to this important paramount historical figure that led the independence fights in Latin America against the Spanish Empire. We also heard the words of Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, who in her keynote speech, she referred to the importance and the history of Simón Bolívar's legacy and his struggle for independence alongside the Patriot Army. She also took the opportunity to denounce all these sectors of society that betray Simón Bolívar's teachings and legacy in being servile to imperialist intentions to try to bring an end to the sovereignty and independence of nations throughout the world. And she also took the opportunity to denounce, to condemn that recently the Canadian government imposed sanctions against high authorities of the Venezuelan nation for showing their dependence, their servile attitude with the United States, which she said that does nothing else than humiliate Canada in many occasions. But she also pledged that Simón Bolívar is alive and well in the spirit of all Venezuelans and everyone that still today fights for an independent region, for a sovereign region, and that struggle would ever end, and that for that reason Simón Bolívar will always be alive in the people that he fought to liberate from the dominion of imperialism. Stay tuned with teleSUR English for more updates in upcoming news briefs.